y'all. I'm gonna wait for some of you to tune in on Facebook and Instagram. I'm super late today. I've had a busy morning, but I said that I was gonna come on live at some point still. Say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first time, definitely let me know where you're tuning in from and let me know it's your first time so I can give you a shout out. Um, Good afternoon, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Facebook is a bit dark here. I'm working without so much of my lighting equipment today, but because I promised I was going to go live, that's why I'm live. Linabelle Cuisine from Atlanta. Hey, I'm in Atlanta too. What kind of cuisine do you have? Put it in the comment. I like to try new food. Maybe I will stop by to get some food. Hi, Peace on YouTube. She says this is her first time. And apologies if you see me going left to right. I am kind of like navigating two screens. Hi, Nikea on YouTube. Mohammed from New York. Let's see who else is here. Hey, Boo for the Boolas. Sonia from Ohio. Florence from Atlanta. Sher from Destin, Florida. So today, really, you guys can jump into your questions. Let me introduce myself formally. I'm an immigration attorney. My name is Ayesha Chidole, and I represent clients all over the United States with their immigration matter. We have offices in Atlanta, Georgia, which is currently where I am, and in Orlando, Florida. But we represent clients in all 50 states. Your location really doesn't matter. Immigration is a federal law, so we can represent you from wherever. You can always call 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. Today, I'm just hopping on live to answer some frequently asked questions. I know over the last live, there were a bunch of questions I couldn't get to. So this is your opportunity to ask me your questions so I can answer them. Let's see what we have so far. So Untitled says, I have an alien number. Can I use that to get my driver's license in Atlanta? The answer is no. You cannot use an alien number to get your driver's license in Georgia. So if you have an alien number, the follow-up question for you is, do you have a pending petition? So if you have a pending petition, i.e. you have an I-485, once you get your work permit that's associated with that, then you will be able to get a driver's license with that. So just with an alien number, that's not usually enough. Somebody says, we're in Atlanta. Well, our office is in Roswell, Atlanta. I said Roswell, Atlanta, Roswell, Georgia. I am still learning geography in the state of Georgia, so it's hard for me to explain, but it's in Roswell, Georgia. It's 1455 Old Alabama Road. Roswell, Georgia. We're still working on our office. So it's not yet open for in-person consults. We can do the consults via Zoom or via phone, but soon you'll be able to come into the office for your appointment once renovation is complete. Sandra says, I live in the Bronx. Hey, and I'm at work. You're looking lovely as ever. I guess the pollen letting you glow more. Look at my Zyrtec right here. That's to show you guys, like, the Georgia allergies is just off the chain. Like, I am definitely struggling. I think that my body just needs to adjust to all these trees. In Florida, we have palm trees, but just not, like, there are trees everywhere here in Georgia. Good morning, afternoon, Lovelettes. MK Cash Money. Happy Friday. Happy weekend to you, Yonkers. All right, let's see what other questions. Boo for the Bull says, glad you finally made it today. Hope your interview went well as always. Yes, it did. Thank you so much for asking. Abeni says, I filed for VAWA since January this blank. No prima facie up until now. Only biometrics. Is that normal without a prima facie? Prima facie is honestly very sometimes they're delayed. Sometimes, depending on who your officer is, you may not get a prima facie determination letter for a couple of months. Most people will get it somewhere between 3 to 6 months. Generally, if it's longer than that, one of the things that you obviously want to be concerned with is, did the case you submitted, did it not meet the minimum requirements to allow you to get a prima facie? Usually, if there's no prima facie, eventually you're going to get a request for additional evidence telling you that your case didn't meet the minimum standards to get a prima facie. So, but you're still okay. It's been 5 months. Hopefully, you get something in the next couple of weeks or next week. If not, you may have to obviously supplement your application. Let's see. Yeah, Katie says they told me you're not open yet in Atlanta. Yes, to the public, we're not, because we're doing construction work in the office. So we're not allowing people come into the office until we finish with construction work. Boo for the Bullet says, can I personally send a gift to appreciate your time, love, and support? Of course, we love gifts here. So you can send a DM. And we can send you the office mailing address, and feel free to send it. We appreciate it. Little Bell Cuisine says, I make meat pie, chin chin, and all kinds of pastries, jollof rice, mama. Girl, I am definitely going to be calling you. My kids love meat pie and chin chin, so I will be calling you for that. I will be calling you for that. Just send me a DM where you're located or your contact information. Okay. So even on YouTube says, this is what makes you stand out from the rest. Coming on live makes you a serious lawyer. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, let's see what other questions you guys have. Ramoy Davis says, good afternoon. If I get advanced parole on my EAD, is it safe to travel? Because I've been advised against it. So I was wondering, what is the reason of having it and you can't use it? So the question is, who is advising you against it? So that's a very a blanket statement. I don't know who's advising you to. I don't know if you have legal counsel or a lawyer that's representing you. But generally, for our own clients here at CLF, if you have advanced parole, you're not in removal proceedings, you're not on a cusp of a decision that I'm concerned about, let's say post-interview of something, I don't stop, I let them know they can travel, because that's what it's there for. So Ramoy, without reviewing your case, knowing what your immigration history is in the United States, without knowing where you are in the application process, I can't say one way or another to you whether or not you should be traveling out of the country. But generally, let's say you've done an interview in a marriage-based case, I typically would not recommend traveling then, just because, if something goes awry and you're out of the country, like an NOID or a decision and it's a denial, then that's it. Now, if you've not had an interview scheduled and you know that an interview has to come, and you don't have any removal proceedings or anything like that, by all means travel. If you travel, just don't go for a long time. Travel for a short period of time so that you can come back really quickly before you're scheduled for something. Okay. Muhammad says, I had my interview 2 months ago. It didn't go well, and I still haven't received any action on my travel permit. Oops. Well, I'm sorry that your interview didn't go well, so that's not good. So really at this point, it's a waiting game. If you feel that it didn't go well, most likely you're going to receive a notice of intent to deny or an RFE, depending on how bad it was. So I wouldn't even be worried about travel permit based on what I just said right now. Like in your case, this is the exact example where I would say you better not travel, because if you do travel, you're putting yourself at risk. Stephen says, good afternoon. Is it possible to get an interview before a work permit? By the way, you look great in green. Thank you so much. Yes, it is possible. And it actually happens a lot where you can actually get your interview before the work permit. All this is a function of scheduling, who your officer is, how many files they have, are they ready to schedule you for your interview? And sometimes we've had clients who we put in their application and they got scheduled 4 months later, or 6 months later, or like they got their work permit and travel permit the day after the interview, but it really didn't matter because they were already approved for their green card the day before, the day before or whatever. So it's definitely possible. You see it happening more often when the interviews are scheduled much quicker. Most interviews, you can expect to have your marriage-based interview between anywhere from, I would say what I consider average is anywhere from 9 months from application to like 15 months. So if you were having your interview scheduled well before that, there's definitely a possibility that you may not get your work permit before it, just because most work permits take anywhere from 5 to 9 months to be approved. Nikea says, is it possible to get an EAD with just a prima facie letter and biometrics done already? So what gives you the EAD is your application. So there are two, since you're mentioning prima facie, this is obviously a VAWA case. So there are two ways that you can get a prima facie, an EAD based on your VAWA case. One is based on your pending I-765, which is your work permit application. If you submitted that after your biometrics, they will give you your EAD. The timeline could vary. It could be anywhere from 4 months. It could be 5, 6, 7 months. If you don't have a pending 765 based on your I-485 that you filed with the VAWA, you're not going to get an EAD immediately, even if you have a prima facie and a biometrics for the VAWA. You will only get an EAD when your case has been approved. VAWA cases take 18 to 25 months at the very minimum. They're very, very few, and I can count them in one hand, that have been approved before then. And for those ones, I know the exact reason, and I'm only speaking about my clients. I know the exact reason why they were approved earlier, where it involved, certain supervisory reviews of certain things. But generally, that is the window, Okay, Mara on YouTube says, hello, I submitted adjustment of status based on my VAWA that hasn't been approved. At what point do I need to submit the waiver due to fraud and misrepresentation? Do I need to wait for the interview? At this point, if you already submitted that, you can certainly present it at the interview, depending on what it is, because sometimes one might think they need a misrepresentation waiver, but they may not. I don't know your personal situation. So sometimes personally, if I think that a client may or might be on the cusp, sometimes I wait for immigration to tell us that we need one. Sometimes it's just really clear and we submit it with the 485. But 601s are determined with the 485, not with the VAWA case. So they can still very well approve your VAWA case, and then during adjustment process at the interview, then they can talk about your waiver. Mike Stewart, YouTube is coming in strong today. So I guess this is the hour to hit y'all on YouTube. So Mike Stewart says, hey, ma'am, I just received the prima facie. What does that mean? My biometrics is in 3 weeks. When do you think I can get my work authorization? VAWA case, thank you. Prima facie determination letter just basically means that you've met the bare minimum standards of approval for a VAWA case, meaning that you've met all the prongs, all the elements of being a VAWA victim. And if you do meet that, you get a prima facie. And the prima facie, what it basically does is that it allows you to get financial aid if you want to go back to school. In some states, it allows you to get public benefits. This is very state specific. So no, I cannot answer any question if anybody's asking me about their particular state. So you have to find out from your own state's public agency if there are any public benefits, like food stamps, housing, or whatever that it can provide for you. I do know that in some states, you cannot be living with your abuser to get public benefits based on VAWA. You have to have separated from the abuser. And then the other thing which is critical to a lot of abuse victims is that it covers all their children who are under 21. and who are not US citizens. So it doesn't matter where your child lives, whether they live in the United States, whether they live in outside of the US, whether or not they've met your husband or your wife or whatever it is. If you have a prima facie determination letter, your children automatically become derivatives of that prima facie. So all the benefits on that prima facie will apply to both you and your children. And when your VAWA case gets approved, those children will also be approved for VAWA. Keep in mind, a VAWA approval is different from a green card approval. If you submit a VAWA application and a green card application together simultaneously, the VAWA approval has to happen first before you're scheduled for the green card interview. The green card interview is basically interviewing you for what we call inadmissibility grounds, like what on your 485 form is going to make you inadmissible. So at that point, they're really not focused on your VAWA because you've been approved and established that you were in a good faith marriage, your spouse was extremely cruel, or you were in your parent was extremely cruel, or your child was extremely cruel. The 485 is just focusing exactly on that and making sure that there's nothing making you inadmissible. Okay. Huff on Facebook says, my name is Namdi, a first timer here. Hey, welcome, welcome. And he says, under what circumstances can a male spouse in a marriage-based application not go to the interview with his spouse? What do you mean under what circumstances? Like, who's the male spouse that's not going to the interview? Is it the US citizen? Is it a non-citizen? So the question needs so much to it before I can answer it. Let's see what else we have here. Untitled says, can a person with a work permit get FAFSA grants for school? What is your work permit based on? Is it a marriage case or is it VAWA? So the answer will depend. If you're a VAWA applicant, then usually you can use your prima facie, speak with your financial aid office, and find out, what the options are for you. Okay, so Manny said, if you just got married, could you start the immigration process? And what is the first step? If you just got married, yeah, you can start the immigration process. The first step is calling me 407-995-6567, and I will walk you through that. Schedule a consultation, okay? So Linabelle says, please, how long exactly does it take for VAWA to be concluded? Like I just mentioned, it can take anywhere from like 18 months to 25 months. It just varies depending on, who it is. That is the average. Whenever I give you guys timelines, like I always say, this is the average, meaning 80% of people are going to fall in this window. There are always going to be people that their stuff gets processed later or their stuff gets processed earlier. Earlier is exception, really, really very, very limited, but that's the window. Okay, so Kimmy says on YouTube says, my friend filed for VAWA in March of 2020, got 4 prima facies and did biometrics in July 2021. However, he just remarried. Oh my God. Hold on one second, guys. Let me turn off my alarm. This is terrible. He just remarried his high school sweetheart, and USCIS sent him a notice a week later. He's not going to get approved, honestly. It doesn't matter. He's not going to get it. So let me see. You have a follow-up question. It says, asking for additional evidence. Should he just send them a withdrawal letter since his VAWA is no longer valid? He can do what he wants. I cannot give him legal advice because I'm not his lawyer, but he will definitely not be approved for a green card on that basis because he has remarried. Friend of mine got divorced. She's wondering if she could take off her husband. You guys can't hear me? Can you guys hear me on Instagram? All right, hold on. I was just told that you guys cannot hear me on Instagram. All right, guys, hold on. Let me see what's going on. Can you guys hear me now on Instagram? Comment if you can hear me. All right. Yes, you can hear me? You can hear me? Okay, you guys can hear me on Instagram. Awesome. So hopefully everybody else can hear me. For those of you who missed, somebody asked a question basically saying that their friend filed for VAWA in 2020 and did the biometrics, got their prima facie, and then they went to marry their high school sweetheart. So what I was basically saying is that as soon as you marry, basically your VAWA case becomes null and void. You have to wait till they make a decision on your case and approve you before you can marry. So in that case, that person, their VAWA, they're not going to be able to get a green card based on VAWA because they've already remarried somebody else. So it makes them ineligible, unfortunately. All right, guys. Yeah, my Linabelle, everybody else can hear me, so we need to log off and log back on. What happens is sometimes if somebody calls me or an alarm goes off, it throws me off. Okay. So a friend of mine just got divorced. She was wondering if she should take off her husband off of her life insurance. She still has paperwork pending. That is a personal question. She can do whatever she wants. If she's not married to somebody, I'm not really sure why she's putting that person on their life insurance. Imagine you just got divorced and then, you pass away, God forbid, and then find out that your ex-husband is getting like, I don't know, $1 million, and that's your ex-husband when that money should be going to maybe your child or your next of kin. So that is a personal choice that she has to make. But me personally, if I was not married to somebody, that person would not be listed on my life insurance as the beneficiary of my life insurance. So hope that helps. Dinma says, what last name do you use in VAWA? Do you use your last name or spouse last name? I find this question so funny. Why do I find this question so funny? Because I can't tell you how many people that come to our office and just decide what last name they're going to use. It doesn't work that way. You use whatever your legal name is. In the United States, you use whatever your legal name is. If you took your spouse's name when you got married, in certain states, when you get married, your marriage certificate, like in New York, for instance, I got married in New York, and it specifically says there, are you changing your last name? And it says your new surname. So I'm using New York as an example. If you've legally changed your new surname, whether or not you and your spouse are fighting, you can't just drop the name. You only drop the name by divorce, or by if it's not by divorce, by court order, or you wait until you are doing your naturalization application, and you can also change it then. So you can't just pick and choose what name you want to use. You pick whatever your legal name is as of the time when you're filing an application. We've had clients say, no, this is my name. I don't want to use my husband's name. Like, look, they're going to send us an RFA. You're going to waste our time, and we're not going to be able to get your stuff because they're going to be like, we need the correct name to put the stuff on there. So just use whatever your name is, okay? Okay. Hi, Amelia. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Davis. All right, let's see. Eben says, how long does it take with naturalization from start to finish? Naturalization can take anywhere from 2 months to like 18 months. I've had clients who we got their case approved in 2 months, and they will tell you if they're on the live right now. And then I've also had clients where it takes 15 months. It all really depends on the field office. So if the field office has a backlog, then you experience a backlog. Again, some field offices can have backlogs, and you might just be assigned to an officer who doesn't have a large caseload, and they can make the decision quicker. So it really varies. One way you can check your particular field office is you can just go on USCIS processing time, just do Google search, and then type in your city where your field office is, and it will tell you what the average time is in that city. So let's see. Okay. All right, Instagram. Let me see some of you guys' questions. So somebody says, is it safe to travel while your I-485 based on VAWA petition is processing? So I answered this question earlier, so I don't know if you tuned in later, but like I said, if your I-485 is pending based on a VAWA case, meaning you've not had your interview and you don't have any removal proceedings, pending against you, you better be sure that you don't have any removal proceedings or any alien numbers or duplicate alien numbers, then technically it's okay. But I can't give you legal advice because unless you're my client, I can't tell you if it's safe to travel because I don't know your immigration history. Because sometimes some people will have like another case, maybe like they filed asylum or something like that. and they were ordered deported like maybe like years ago, like maybe like 1998, 1999. And then, a few years later, they filed, they said they didn't have anything in the system, blah, blah, blah. They conveniently forgot about that. They get a new alien number, and that new alien number shows nothing. But then they have that deportation order. So it just really depends on your immigration history, which your counsel or your attorney, if you're my client, and you want to travel, as most of you send me an email and say, is it okay for me to travel? And then, we just do some check for you, and let you know if you can travel. David says, surprised to see you online this time. I know I'm supposed to be online at 10 o'clock, but I had an interview and another appointment today, which is why I am here late. But I said I was going to come, so that's why I'm here. Okay, so let me see what else we have here. Super Style says, if someone gets a prima facie a month after filing for VAWA, is that a good sign? It means absolutely nothing. A prima facie, if you get a prima facie in month 1 versus month 5, it means absolutely nothing. There's no extra treatment. There's no extra, what I mean when I say it means nothing is that somebody who got it 5 months from now should not feel bad versus somebody who got it 1 month from now thinking, oh, I got it 1 month, I know my case is going to be approved, because a prima facie is a prima facie, which means that you have established, that you meet the bare minimum. So it doesn't matter how early or late you get it, as long as you get it. If you don't get it, then that's a problem. If you get it, it's still not a guarantee, but at least it shows that your case is moving in the right direction. And, even if they come back with certain things, you've met the core bases, basically. Okay. All right, let's see. One more question here. This is a good question I want to answer. Is it possible to file for a green card marriage-based if both partners live in different states? When people come to me and they say, I want to file a marriage-based case, me and my husband, me and my wife live in different states. The first question I ask them is, why? Why do you live in different states? So the answer to that is going to determine whether or not it is a good idea or not. Now, if you say, I'm in nursing school, I'm about to finish my program, my spouse is a licensed, I'm just picking random things here. My spouse is a licensed attorney in Georgia, and so he technically can't move here because he's going to have to take the bar. And I technically can't move there because I'm going to have to start like whatever program again. So we're just waiting because I have 1 more year or whatever it is. To me, that is an excuse that makes sense. That is an excuse that any ordinary, reasonable person can understand. Versus you saying, well, I just don't like the weather in Seattle, so I'm not moving there. I like Florida. I'm just going to stay here. With that, very likely you're going to get a denial. So when you're thinking of living apart from your spouse, you really want to show that the reasons make sense. And if you are living apart, you really want to show heavy proof of the legitimacy of your marriage. Heavy proof. You can't be living in 2 different states and you're seeing each other once every 3 months. That is a red flag. That is a red flag. Sandy says, what if he's in the military? In the military, it's different. It's different. Especially if your spouse has been stationed outside of the United States. For a lot of people, if they're married and their spouse is stationed outside of the United States, they're not in status, so they can't leave the US. Because if they leave the US, they're not going to be able to come back if they've overstayed their time. Do you understand the difference? So in that case, it makes sense that you would not leave, because if you leave, if they station your husband to Japan, and you go to Japan, you're not coming back to America with him when he's done because you overstayed your time there. So in that case, it makes sense. Whereas sometimes, a client is still in status and they move and choose the consular process from wherever their military base is and stuff like that. So, military exceptions definitely exist. You just really need to show the bona fides of your marriage. Like I say to you guys, you have to understand that USCIS, they're not dumb. I mean, they're not like sitting there saying, how many people am I going to deny today? And I want to deny people. They just really want you guys to show the legitimacy of your marriage. Like, you just really, and I say this all the time, I know it's not fair to a lot of people applying for green cards where they feel like even regular married couples don't have to worry about certain things, or oh, I don't remember the elementary school my husband went to, or I don't remember the elementary school my wife went to. When you're in the immigration process, you got to look at it as an exam. They're using a fine-tooth comb to really study the relationship to make sure that this marriage is not fraudulent. So the standards are much higher. So whatever you need to do to make sure that you're showing that your marriage is really legit, then you do that. You know what I mean? Okay, let me answer more questions. Latin Beatty says, what can I do if my husband used me to get his green card? Well, obviously I don't know you. I don't know how your husband used you. And unfortunately, I'm sorry about that. I am an immigration lawyer, so I help immigrants get their green card. So I don't know what the alternative is for people who are being used by immigrants. Maybe you can reach out to your local, I don't know, like your local police officers, if there was something fraudulent done to you, DOJ, whatever. But it's not something that I can counsel on because I'm an immigration attorney. So by its very nature, I only help immigrants get their status. But I'm sorry that your husband did that to you, if that's what happened to you. All right, let's see what else. I filed my I-485 and it's been under review since February 2022. So what is your question? When did you file it? So all of that will depend on, whether or not you should be checking to see what's going on with your status. All right, let's see what else we have here. Okay, so Tijuana says, if someone is in the removal process, they just arrived in the country and want to work, can they, or is it best not to, or is it possible to work? Is it possible to get any paperwork so they can use it to work? So what do you mean when you say in the removal process? Like, are you saying that they're filing for removal of conditions on their green card, or they're in deportation? Because all of that, that will depend. Whatever your answer will depend, will determine the answer. Sean says, how soon can you start your process after marriage? There's no timeline. You can do it whenever you want to. What if your husband, this question, Sasha says, what if your husband died while you were in the process? The process would be different if you're in the United States or outside of the United States. But generally, you can convert your I-130 to a petition, a widower petition, if that happens. So if you didn't notify USCIS, then you might need to just file it again and then just pay the fee. Otherwise, if you notify USCIS, they can automatically convert your petition for you. All right. Untitled says, so I applied for EAD through asylum on January 26th. I haven't gone for biometrics. I don't handle asylum, so I'm not going to answer that question. Somebody says, what will happen if I get divorced after I file in 10 years? After you file what in 10 years? Okay. D. Elias said, is it possible to transfer the priority date for pending I-130 to my new I-360? The relationship turned abusive. Well, it it depends. Is your it depends on what your abuser is. Are they legal permanent residents or U.S. citizens? Because if they're U.S. citizens, it really doesn't matter because visas are immediately available to you, and you don't need to worry about the priority dates. Okay. All right. Okay, let me answer some more of this question. So Charmaine says, that's so true. That's a red flag. One person can't live in a different state from the other. I always say that you can't have one person live there and one live there. That's a big, big red flag. Yeah, Charmaine, tell him. Okay, let's see what else here. Somebody says, is there a 90-day rule remarriage and adjustment of status? Yes, there is a 90-day rule. So generally, if you enter into the United States and you start putting in an application for adjustment of status within 90 days of you entering into the US or getting married, it's certainly a red flag. So what that means is basically you're going from a preponderance of the evidence, which is showing basically more likely than not, like 51% more likely that your marriage is legitimate, to clear and convincing evidence, which is like 75%, meaning that the standards become higher where you have to convince them that this marriage wasn't fraudulent. So, and the same also applies if you came here on like a student visa and within like 30 days you're like married and ready to file for adjustment of status. That's also a big red flag as well. Let's see. What other questions haven't I answered? Carrie Thomas says, how long does an N600 take to process? Honestly, too long. We have one right now that's just taken really long. But with the N600, and for those of you who don't know what the N600 is, that's for derivative. You've derived citizenship through a parent. And technically, if it's you or whoever that's already a citizen, they can technically go get their U.S. passport, but really the N600 acts as a certificate of citizenship, which a lot of times is good to have, just so that you can, if you ever filed for somebody or ever needed to prove that, you can have that. But it's taken a long time, and I'm not really sure why. But you can also put in your processing time and your field office just to see wherever you sent it to what the timeline is. Okay. Carrie, I just answered what you can do with a prima facie evidence. I'm going to save this video so that you can watch it and see what I said. Tyler says, thank you for everything you do. Wow, VAWA is so vast. I know, right? It's so vast. There's so many nuances. The thing about immigration law is people think it's let me fill out this form. This is the rule. Like there's so many complexities, where you do this, it changes something. You do that, it changes something. Like even we as attorneys, like we're constantly learning. Like, I get emails from USCIS and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the new rule? Like once the email comes and I have to study, to learn the stuff, or like they will subtly change the forms and you don't even know the forms are changed because there's no big announcement. Like, so you really need to be on top of the laws and how they're changing it. And immigration really is a political it uses a political pawn in this country. What I mean by that is depending on who's in office, the immigration laws change. So like we're literally, oh gosh, my hair keeps flying in my face. We're literally learning new laws every 4 years, depending on who is in office. So you got to erase all the public charge. In fact, as a matter of fact, I got an email from USCIS today about public charge, which I haven't read yet. I'm just making sure that there's nothing, different that's changing. But the point is, we are at the mercy of whoever is in office, whoever they put as their immigration secretary, because politics plays a big role in immigration and the laws change. So when you have something as important as immigration, yeah, it's all well and good that you guys come and listen to me live. I love that you guys join me live. Thank you. And I appreciate you coming on live to listen to me, but you should be using a competent legal counsel because this is something that's very important to you. And a lot of times mistakes, the most painful clients for me are clients who come to me after they literally messed up their whole immigration history and there's literally nothing that we can do to overcome. Because I always say that I'm good but I can't turn water into wine. Like, I'm not Jesus. And sometimes you literally need Jesus at this point in the miracle. Obviously anything is possible and we'll always try, but when you have something so critical or so important, it's really important that you are hiring someone who is competent to help you with this. If you've ever heard the saying about penny wise and pound foolish, let's juxtapose this. For example, I don't want to pay my lawyer $4,000, $5,000. I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number. I can do it myself. You go ahead and do it yourself. You mess it up. You go to your interview. They send you a letter saying, denying you, saying, saying basically you don't have enough evidence to show that you entered it into a good faith marriage. This is a potential marriage fraud case. Let's say it's already taking you 2 years, right, to deal with that stuff. Now you're going into appeal or you're filing a new adjustment of status case. That's an additional 4 years, right? In 4 years, how much money could you have made? If you were working legally and you were living your life legally, how many of your family members could you have gone to see, right? So in the grand scheme of things, that amount is nothing to the cost of your freedom, because at the end of the day, like I say to people, you're worth it. We as a society, we're willing to pay for things that don't really change our lives in any way, but this is something that changes not only your life, as an immigrant, it changes the trajectory of your family's legacy, your family's life, so it's something important, and that's something that you should take seriously and make sure that you have somebody who's competent that's handling it. Anyway, guys, I am tired. I have to get back to work. So I will be joining you guys back on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So tune in. If you didn't start in the beginning, I'm going to... That's my husband on the live saying, I know you ain't Jesus, but you sure got his smarts and favor. Well, thank you, Chinede. That's my husband messing with me. Yeah, so as I was saying, guys, I will be on live on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. If I didn't get to answer any of your questions or you have personal questions, schedule a consult. Schedule a consult and know what's going on, with your case, or, if you have options. My number is 407-995-6567. Also, you can send us a WhatsApp if you want us to call you to schedule, as long as you're within the United States. It's 404-333-8751. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.